And this is Audition Psych 101, Club 101. It's not Audition Psych 101 because we'd be here for 4 hours. Club 101 for November. My God, November. Yes, as we nervously await what happens over the next 4 days, and I don't want to talk about it. Welcome, everyone. Um, here's our little welcome screen, and I want to get right into audition recap and find out what's going on in your audition lives. Anyone have experiences, challenges, victories, casting directors you'd like to curse at? Anything at all? Yes, ML, there's a hand up.
So I learned at the SAG-AFTRA Conservatory Intensive that because part of our contract is being able to opt in for in real life, not necessarily in person, but
Live Zoom, yeah.
live Zoom, and everybody who talks about networking
Mm-hmm.
says, you got to form relationships with these casting directors. You got to How are you going to form relationships with casting directors if you're only ever self-taping?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have an opportunity to do a live Zoom, ask for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just had my second live Zoom yesterday, and it was great. And I have another one scheduled for Monday.
Lovely. Now, I think some people prefer not to, and some people prefer to. For you, the experience is better, yes?
What I love about it is I get to form the relationship, but I don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah. This
I
is
don't have to do the taping.
right.
I have my setup set up, but I get in my costume like 5 minutes before. I put on my face 5 minutes before. I'm prepped, but I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to stress about a waiting room with other people. I don't have to. I love it.
I'm
I
100% in your
love
camp.
it.
It's just it's fascinating to me that I think some people would prefer the opportunity to do more takes, you know. Not me. I like well, but again, I'm an extrovert. I imagine that you are too. I like
I
to meet
am.
people and talk to them,
Well,
you
and
know.
well, there are people who really, really miss the in-person thing.
Mm.
And the beauty of live on Zoom is you're nearly in person.
Yeah.
You're
There's
very,
interaction. I
very, and I had three scenes
yes.
that I had to do yesterday. The first one, got to the end of it, she was like, "That was great, let's move on." The second one, she gave me a little redirect. The third
Mhm.
one, she gave me a little redirect. And so I had that opportunity. And self-taping, I probably wouldn't have redirected myself because it had to do with pacing.
Mhm.
And in person in the room, it would have been the same kind of feedback, but it was
This is
lovely.
a very good reminder, Emma. And the thing is, I'm very much in the camp of different things work for different people, and
Sure.
different people have different preferences. I know that I've spoken to quite a few actors who'd rather not interact with casting people at all. But it's a good reminder, and I've caught myself thinking, oh, I don't want to take up a slot that somebody else might want. Bullshit. Take if you can get the slot, get the slot.
Yeah.
You know, I'm
Yeah, it's
100% with
it's a
you.
slot for you
Yes,
if
and I
you want it, ask for it.
and I love the interaction and getting to hear from the person who knows a little bit more about the role, maybe some
Yeah.
adjustments. I think that's great. So
Yeah.
you had a good experience and you have another one coming up on Monday. That's great. Well
Yeah.
done. Well done, you. Um, Welcome, Bob, Laura. It's so nice to see some folks I haven't seen in a while. This makes me very happy. Bob, Jaffe, what's up?
Yeah. Well, it was auditions have lightened up lately, which is odd because for everybody else in my agency, they've amped up.
Mhm.
Uh, so I'm expecting, it's like a roller coaster. Things will come back again.
Of course.
Bookings, I know bookings within the agency are way up, so that's great. And yeah, he's been sending me a bunch of commercial auditions, which is interesting because I'm more used to on camera stuff than the kind of
Mm.
take six stills and walk across a room and things like that, which I'm not quite as comfortable with, oddly enough, even though they're supposed to be very natural. So that's been a challenge that I'm
I
kind
think
of
commercials are hard, just like co-stars are hard. Commercials often call for I was going to say unnatural behavior, but I think it's behavior that is more of a challenge to justify. Um, in my acting class, people have sometimes brought in commercial copy, which is I like that we work on everything from Shakespeare to to Pop Tarts, and um, I'm finding the trick is, because they always start with, oh, this is so cheesy, this is so corny, this is so blah, 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 all this stuff. And it's great. Flush all that out, flush it all out. Go, yes, yes, yes. And then at a certain point, you have to give it a kind of a dignity. You kind of have to it's just like with bad material. At a certain point, you got to say, okay, all of that aside, I'm now going to give some dignity to this project and answer some questions about, objectives and things like that. And I which I think is hard with commercials because it's
good.
they're silly. But I that's what I want to encourage you to do because when we've done that in my class, and as I say, there is absolutely room for this is so stupid, this is so corny. But at a certain point, that person, that character in the commercial, doesn't think that way.
Yeah, and I mean, through the work I've done with David and monthly workshops, when I've been able to go and in VO Heroes, I'm very comfortable
Yes.
with commercial copy.
Mhm.
But the live commercials have been a challenge. But it's a challenge I need to meet because I think there's work for me there. On the good side, I just finished, the reason I couldn't be here last month, I just finished um, playing the lead in a short film, which really is going to look great. And this weekend, I've got another 2.5 days on a short film coming up. So
Well,
it's
I
all
say,
good.
I say that's fantastic. Love that.
Yeah.
We're celebrating that. I'm overly amused by that feature on Zoom. That I can send you a
Thank
bunch of
you.
stars to celebrate you. Mr. Fiore.
Hello, hello everyone. It's great to be here. I'm in Florida right now, so this is sunny Florida.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, nice view, right?
It ain't
Anyway,
bad.
um, I had two auditions, one like last week. It was quiet before that, so I'm not, bragging about. But here's the interesting thing. And I did one yesterday. I've been studying this in my book club.
Oh, I
You know,
love that book.
I
Yeah.
love this book.
Very good book.
And so I was really excited to,
Can
we
you hold
studied.
that, John? Can you hold that up again?
Sure.
Some people missed it. It's called True and False, and it's by David Mamet.
Yeah,
And
the
it's a
great.
little book. It's a little book, which I love.
It's like a handbook. You can read it over and over and over and
Yeah.
over and over again and grab something you missed. But I like the approach. You're a teacher, so you would know what you do and don't like about it, obviously, which would be interesting, to find out. But I just had more fun yesterday when I did the audition and last week. Just my approach, trying to do less, so to speak, which is a weird word. Less can be defined, right, as so many different things. But like you say, tell the story. You're just a piece in that, in that story, and just
Yeah.
let the
Less is a tricky word. Less is a word that can trip us up if we're not careful.
right,
You know,
exactly. Let the words,
yeah.
the screenwriter, let the words take over, whatever that is. So it was fun, and that's really what I have.
I'm just looking up another book that I love. Uh, I'm just giving you. We're doing links. In fact, if anyone else has any other books that you want to recommend, uh, this is a
We
good.
did the Uta Hagen one before, prior to this,
Yeah,
so that was a little, obviously different. They're just interesting.
it's giving me. I'm looking for backwards and forwards, and it's giving me backwards fireworks, which I didn't know what that was a thing.
So, John, is that an actors book club, or you just happen to be doing actors books with the club this? Because you mentioned two in a row.
No, it's a bunch of actors that I met through classes over the years. Some of them are in London. They're all over, just a whole bunch of different actors. And we meet once a week. And some people, like sort of like this once a month, but this is once a week. And we go over, which is, fun.
I put another book in there that I just happen to love called Backwards and Forwards. It's a very tiny little tome, and it's just lots of fun reminders. Yes, anybody who wants to put in book recommendations. Um, I'm not recommending my own, but they're there. Um, um, so my brain went away for a minute, but I love that you are. Here's the thing: sometimes when we get a book, we think I've got to master everything in this, but really, every time you go through, you pick up. It's like panning for gold. You pick up a little something. You pick up a little something, and you're now turning around and applying that to your work in auditioning, which I think is lovely. I think when we get away from that obsessive, how do I book this job? Because as we all know, you're not going to book the fucking job. Now we get to go, well, this is a playground. I'm going to try some things. So much fun. Who else has had recent auditions that they would like to tell us about? Crickets? Crickets? Deba?
I had an audition. Here's what was interesting at this audition. We had to send in 3 takes along with a full body thing, which I had previously made done at a studio. So now they just get my canned full
Yeah.
body
Wait, clarification. 3 takes of the same scene.
of the same scene.
Yeah, okay.
And they made it very clear that we'll be unable to process anything that comes in with less than 3 takes. So they were very serious about wanting 3 takes. So I gave them 3 takes. I've heard nothing, so I don't think, I didn't get the fucking job, but I
Right.
gave them 3 takes. But I kept trying to think, as
Yeah.
you have been training, what else could it be? What else could it be? What else could it be? So I could come up with 3 takes for these people.
I'm glad we're talking about this because that's a particular challenge that I think is very interesting. The danger is that we'll go, okay, I'm going to do something that doesn't make any sense just because it's different, you know. And I think that there's a spectrum. I mean, I think there's a sense in which every take is going to be different just because it's a different take. But I think in terms of pivoting our approach to a scene, it doesn't have to be a vast change. It doesn't have to be an overhaul. It can be just less tolerant or more loving or more distracted, or just pick a little color to shift, just so it's like those paint sample cards that I love at the Home Depot, where it's like it goes from like a light beige to a deep brown, and I think it's gradations. So I think we need to not be too obsessive about go change our costume and give it an accent and all of that.
Yeah, I didn't change costumes. And it was the other thing that said, standard American accent. So that blew any accent work out of the water.
Right.
Um,
So,
about
so
the
what
only
did you
accent,
do? How did you approach your 3 different takes?
I tried to think of 3 different people. Um,
Hmm,
one of them was I went with one of the stepsisters of Cinderella.
great.
And then I did oh God, I don't even know. I did a Valley Girl, but an old Valley Girl,
Hmm.
and then I came up with just an angry woman.
It sounds like fun.
It
I,
ended up it was fun for me. I don't know if it's going to be fun for them to watch, but that's what I.
yeah,
And
fuck.
then I did one that was just me being pissed off. So that I had, and then I actually ended up doing 4, and then I picked 3 from the 4.
Of course, you can use being pissed off about being asked to do 3 different takes on a scene, and then you have very honest acting going on.
Yeah, so I just thought that was interesting.
Um, Love that. Love that. I know that Bob, when you're talking about it being slow for you, and it just seems that at any time of year, your agents can say, "Oh, it's dead, it's dead, it's slow, it's slow," and it is frustrating. But as you say, that's the loop we go on. David H. Lawrence,
I
17.
I had it. What?
I had to give your full name. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I had a challenge with a commercial self-tape. Um, it was for a luxury brand, and they wanted a popcorn street vendor that was making caramel popcorn in a bowl, and that was it. That's all they wanted.
Hmm.
And
So you
my
got out your
my
caramel popcorn maker and you wheeled it into the shot.
I didn't do anything of the sort. I sat here in this particular thing, and I felt foolish miming the whole process, and it went against everything that I so I just thought rutabaga.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
asking me to play a rutabaga.
Yeah.
What do you do? What are the motivations for a rutabaga's journey?
I mean, it is really at that point a willingness to just check out and make the fucking popcorn, and it's maddening. It's maddening. It's like years of training for this.
They did ask in your slate to tell us something about you that is odd or weird or that other people don't know. And so I felt myself kind of leaning into that moment because it gave me something to do.
Yes.
So, and I had to do that a couple times because I felt like I got a little diarrhea of the mouth. So I just wanted to make it like, 20 seconds. That was
How
it.
long did you have to do the popcorn tossing? How-
There was no guidance on how long. It was a very simple sentence. There was one
Oh,
direction.
wait, you had a line?
No,
Oh, okay. Sentence. Okay.
no, there was one sentence of direction.
Yeah.
About 7 seconds in, freeze. Okay, and then let it fall back into, I that's all.
Well, it takes some consolation in knowing that there were gentlemen all over doing like doing kabuki and trying to make some interesting choice because they've been told they should do something to stand out. And God bless you. I'm sure they were relieved to see just somebody making the damn popcorn.
And I
But
can't wait until the holidays to be able to talk about this with my family.
people have no idea the shit we do. I
So how's
told
that acting career going?
Yeah,
Well, let me tell you about this one audition I had.
yeah, not to brag. Well, yeah, I think I told you all about the when I was working in Vancouver on this. I had booked a TV show, and yes, I had lines, but one of my days of work was lying dead on a operating table. I only spoke for one day, and it's like this is the weird shit that we do that people don't even. It's just bizarre. ML, I see your hand. It's in another square, but I see it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
this
So
is
the thing on Monday,
Hollywood Squares. Yeah, go ahead.
I have to use ASL. Part of the role was familiarity with ASL, and I think just the one thing, just the one moment where my character signs something to my deaf son, that is going to be what casting is looking for, whether people actually do it or not, whether people know how to say,
Yep.
the thing, which I didn't do it correctly just now. I know that I didn't do it correctly. And then on Tuesday, I get to improv with a Russian accent.
Oh, that's fun.
I don't have any lines, but I have two scenes where they want me to improv a Russian accent.
Now, how are you prepping for that? Are you listening to some Russian?
Well, I've got the accent help with Jim Johnson, and Russian is Eastern European esque. All of that is very much in my wheelhouse. I just
Great,
pull it out.
great.
So what I'm planning to do for the second scene, because the lead actor hears an argument happening in Russian, I'm going to find all the Russian curse words and just
Oh,
yell at the other person with my back turned to the camera until I, hear the knock, and then I turn to the camera and do the rest of the bit.
that
That's
sounds like
that's what
fun.
I've decided to do for the
That sounds
second
like
scene.
fun. That sounds like fun.
And just in case you're wondering, I still haven't heard from Asia.
The endless pursuit of the Harry Potter gig.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I think it only means that they're not asking me to go to China as the wand keeper. there's still three other possibilities of yes and the possibility of no.
Listen, this is the same as when a casting director keeps calling you back. You know that you have a vote of approval. You have some interest and excitement in you, and that's
Yeah, I'm really just trying not to stress about how much time is passing.
no. Well, you can either stress or not. That's your option, but I
Yeah.
don't think it does anything for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Chris Buckner,
Hello.
hello.
Much like Bob, things have been a little slower, but the things I'm getting have been commercial auditions.
Uh-huh.
And I did. It's actually mostly been voiceover, which is kind of interesting. It's been mostly voiceover, a little bit of on camera. I had one opportunity to possibly audition for something for Law and Order in New York, but it was a one-line off-screen thing, so I actually wound up turning that one down. It was a union thing. I would have had to join the union and all that kind of stuff. And most of the work here is non-union, so
It's not worth it. Right.
yeah. But yeah, that's basically auditioning for me.
Nikki, welcome. Have you had any auditions lately?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Tell me.
Yes. Watson, The Irrational, couple of movies, and I'm doing one today that is I don't even know what it's called. It's
You're a busy
about-
broad.
say again.
You're a busy broad.
I am a busy broad.
That's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm in Comox, BC, taking care of this little fluff bucket
Okay.
for a month. And
I can't wait to move up there. Says it sounds like that's where all the work is now.
I can't wait for you to move here. Hi, Peter. Hi.
So
Yes.
anything we can help you with in terms of how did those go and all that?
Okay. Well, today's is the Amanda Knox story. I can't see myself, so I hope I'm in frame. That's the camera's job. The Amanda Knox story, and 2 takes. So I hear you. One in standard American, and the other in a slight German accent, which I have. Crazy and sehr. Yeah, okay, got that. And yeah, that's it. I did some practice takes yesterday, and then here's how I figured out that I work. I do practice takes, and then I find out what I'm missing. It's as if I've done it in the studio with the casting directors.
Yes.
As I'm on my way to the car, I go, oh my God.
I am crazy about what you just said. I'm crazy about what you just said. So so many times you get in the car, you're like, oh, that's what I meant to do. And now you're giving yourself the chance. I love when you all start finding these techniques for yourselves and really honoring what works for you and not calling it weird or eccentric. We all do. Listen, I often say, I like to sleep on the floor. I'm not judging it anymore. I like to sleep on the floor. We have eccentricities. We have ways of working.
I'm sorry, I missed what Nikki said she did that you got so excited about.
I did practice once. Like I did them as if I was going to send that in. But then when I was done, like a couple hours later, I went, oh, I'm missing this piece.
So in other words, Nikki gave herself. I used to talk about how when you leave the casting office and you get in your car, you go, oh, that's what I wanted to do. So she's giving herself that entire process. And by the way, I didn't mean to call that eccentric. It's not eccentric. I just mean it's specific to you. And I think that it's creative.
This was after the audition.
What she's doing is instead of sending in that first audition.
Yes.
She's.
And I went through the process of editing it and putting it into iMovie. And then when I had left that, because I didn't send it in, when I'd left that, I went, I'm not going to get that job for sure because this piece is missing. And it's in this case, it's the investment in, it's the Amanda Knox story, right? And Amanda Knox is on as an EP.
Okay.
And grandma.
I love that, I love the creativity of that. You
Thank
know,
you.
it's I keep saying when we find the little challenges in this process, we find the little thing that, oh, that that's, I don't quite like that, and we just sort of address those things surgically, as opposed to going, ugh, I hate that, I'm overwhelmed by that. It's so smart. It's so smart. As I've referred back to the fact that, when I sat down calmly to talk to myself about why I hated self tapes, it was like, oh yeah, well, I'm balancing lamps on chairs on boxes, maybe just buy the damn equipment. Game changer for me. Game changer. Psychologically, a game changer for me. I no longer felt burdened by doing them. Now I go switch on the damn lights and I go.
Yeah.
I don't like setting up a damn screen, painted a wall. These little fixes. But this, I think, is it. I think this is really downright brilliant, because you've said, okay, what don't I like? I don't like when I send it in and then the next day go, I should have done this, and now you've addressed that.
Yeah. Thank you. And I don't mind you calling it eccentric. I think that's pretty valid, actually.
Well, I guess
Because
I don't mean it in a sense of like,
it's-
oh, that's weird. I think
it's not disparaging at all. I think
Yeah.
it's an unusual, and I've never done that before.
Yep.
Yesterday.
Yep. And by the way, again, the goal is not oh, now this is going to book me the job. It's not that. It's that
Yeah.
I'm going to have a better experience auditioning. I'm going to feel better about my work. That's all we can ever do.
Yeah. Exactly.
I love that. I'm really genuinely thrilled by that. I think that's so smart. Yeah, I think a couple of people took notes. They're like, I think I'm going to try that. I think it's a good technique. John?
Yes, I was just going to add, which is great, because I remember just to do a self-tape a day, try that for a month. Just take a scene and
Yeah.
just have fun with people, and you'll see how much better you get in a week or just a few days too.
With my acting students, more and more, I'm really, one of the things I'm working on with them is to not keep looking at how other actors do their work or approach their work and think, oh, I should be doing it that way, but to go, oh, you know what works for me? I mean, I have a student in one of my classes. He's a wonderful actor, and we have very different ideas about how to approach things. He feels he wants very much to bring himself to it, and I like to morph into a character. It's just very different approaches. But what I'm trying to encourage them to do is go, no, that's what leads me to feel better about my work. I feel good about my work when I approach it this way. I feel good about it. I feel like I can stand behind it, and that's something to trust more and more. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons for that is I believe that when you send in a self-tape, I think we can see in the eyes when what you're really thinking instead of the character's thoughts is, I hope this is going okay. I hope this is all right. How is this? And checking yourself as you go is not fun to watch, because then you're not engaged in the character's task, you're engaged in the actor's task, and it's the wrong way to dive in. So I love that. I love that. Hacks. It's a hack. Love that. That dog is so cute. All right, let's move on. We've done some audition recap. Again, this section of the Club 101 is always to either talk about techniques or puzzles or things that didn't go well, or then we could sort of solve them as a group sometimes. So what do we have as okay, great. I forgot what this was about this week. Lesson number 7, Redux, don't neglect your scene partner. I think that when it comes time to audition, we have a tendency to jettison all thoughts of our scene partner, neglect them entirely, and think about what our faces are doing instead. And it does not lead to the best result. You've all seen the exercise where your acting teacher will say, make it about your scene partner, and it becomes a much more interesting scene almost all the time. I say almost because I don't believe in any blanket statements. There are characters who don't give a shit about the other person in the scene, and that's the appropriate choice. Meryl Streep in Devil Wears Prada. If she had taken great interest in people on the other side of the conversation, she would have violated the character. But I think that in crafting a performance for an audition for a self-tape, part of what you study should be, how does what I say affect the other person? How do I want to affect the other person? During the scene, I love the word scrutiny. It's become one of my favorite words in acting, scrutiny. Let me track how what I'm saying is landing, or take in what they're saying, and don't neglect your scene partner. I don't know how else to put it. I feel like it's one of the things that can easily slip out of gear. Something that you do very much when you're actually working and doing good acting work, but that somehow when we're auditioning, it's, you know, it's very easy for that to slip out of gear. One of the things that makes it more challenging is working with somebody over Zoom, which is what I usually do. I have to be completely honest that after the fact, I go, I don't know if I really was in conversation. And so what I've started to do lately is consciously, before I even roll the camera, sort of in my mind, think in terms of going through the computer into the other person's room and make sure I've really taken them in, make sure I've really looked at them, had a little conversation to get this artificial, weird electronic exchange going that we want to feel like a conversation between two people that are in the same room, and to make a conscious choice to converse through that computer to your scene partner and really, really connect and really listen and really talk to them, you know. Once you're clear about what your objective is, which is the most basic fundamental building block of all this work, what you must do is go about pursuing that objective, whether it is to, you know, just say, do you know how fast you were going? But really ask through the computer, do you know how fast you were going? You know, or, you know, have you decided what you like for lunch? So that it's, otherwise you really get a performance that stops right here, you know. Thoughts on that? Does anyone know what the hell I'm talking about? Yes. Good, John. Is this challenging for anybody besides me?
Yeah, because otherwise all you're doing is just waiting to say your line. So you're not connecting
Right.
with the partner. And it's just so obvious because you're affecting them and then they're supposed to affect you, right? In some way.
Yeah.
Vice versa.
Yeah.
You know, our objective is to clean up all the mess and to just, what's our objective? What do we want? And I'm sure, you know, they want something from us also. That's why they're there. They're asking a question.
Right. Now, this, of course, doesn't mean that you do the weird constant eye stare acting that people you see a lot of actors do. They think they're being real deep when they just like stare at each other. But it's putting your scene partner into the same conversation with you, so that you really are talking and listening and trying to get through to them and trying to understand what they're saying for the most part. Giselle.
Yes, I mean, I was just going to say I find that very difficult. I do most of mine on Zoom as well.
Very difficult. Yes.
And I often can't see the Zoom because the way the phone camera is set up, I have to be looking off the camera. So I'm actually not even looking at the person. I'm just listening.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And thankfully, I've had help from from our friendly actor, Jamie, who just gives so much. So I can hear him and I can react often. But just when you have to hire someone to do a Zoom thing, it's very it's very difficult to communicate, very difficult to make that connection. I do find it difficult.
It
I
is
think
difficult.
I made it work by making the camera the person and actually seeing them the way one would do in film.
Have you tried? I mean, I'm sure you do have a little conversation with your scene partner beforehand. You speak to them.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that I find that helps too, because then
Yes.
when you can't look at them, you can imagine their face better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can do
Yeah,
that.
I agree. I agree. It's very challenging. It's also, that's the challenge. That's what it is. Yeah. Yeah. Bob Jaffe.
Yeah, I think it is particularly challenging in multiple character scenes because, um,
Yes.
like as Giselle described, I don't typically look at the person I'm speaking with, whether they're in the room or whether they're over Zoom. I'm typically looking at where I've put them in the room, in the imaginary room.
Mhm.
So I try as best I can to determine how tall they are, how I feel about them, how I feel about each person differently if there's two or three in the scene, and, make sure that I've been clear about what lines of theirs I'm reacting to and leaving it open as to how that reaction may take depending upon the take. But to know that these lines need a reaction. But yeah, it's continually challenging, and there are times I look back at it and say, well, none of that read. It just looked like I was looking at the post-it on the wall.
You know, Bob, I have a hack for you that I've never used, but an actor friend of mine uses, which is to put photographs of people here and here, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you could then cast them. You can put the people who affect you a certain way. This is the person who pisses you off. This is the person who you think is adorable, and you could actually help yourself that way by just then you can talk to photos, which I think.
yeah. And that the person I was doing audition training with has actually suggested that take people and put a picture of
Sure.
them, a person that you feel that way about, put a picture of them. And I've not done that,
Try
but
it. I think it's a good.
I'll
I
try
think
it.
it's a worthwhile experiment. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think it is.
Um, uh, uh, and or um, I'm talking to myself now because here's what I'd like to do more of is before I even connect with my Zoom partner, if I'm doing multiple characters or not going to be looking at the camera, to just spend some time with the air over there and think about who that person is and what I need to get through to them and what are they wearing and what do they look like and just fill them out for yourself. Take a few meditative moments to sort of uh, spend time with these imaginary people so that when you have your scene partner that these people are a lot more fully realized. um it's again, I shortcut this all the time. I'm just coming clean. I'm always honest with you, and I think
Yeah.
I it's something I want to do. It's something I want to do better with.
Yeah, I try to be conscious about, okay, when am I looking at their face? When might I be looking at their hands or
Yes.
their jacket and when do I go into my own private space and where is that? So I try to be specific about that. And times, as I said, there are times it looks great and times it just looks like crap. And when it looks like crap, I redo it and try to get to the point
Right.
where it actually looks like I'm talking to somebody. But it's one of the challenges of not reading to a casting director that's on the other side of the camera when you actually have a person standing there when we were in the room together.
Yes.
Um, but
Well,
but it
again,
is a challenge.
I want us to keep thinking of these as cool puzzles to work on. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I
uh,
think it's a good challenge, but
yeah,
it's a
it's a good
challenge.
challenge. It's a good challenge, and I'm it's why the acting homework becomes so important. Okay, I have to fire this guy. How do I feel about it? Has this been a long time coming? I can't wait to get him out of my office. Or what is it? What's going on? What's the objective? How do I feel about this person? How do I want this person to be affected by what I'm saying? And to really sort of spend some time with that other character in your mind, and not to yeah, don't make it a solo show. Laura Flores, it's so nice to see you.
You too. Thank you. This is just me a little bit here. I wonder if it's karma coming back at me because I used to hate it when remember when we all were in the room,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And I would get a terrible scene partner to read with, right? And you just do what you got to do, right? And now I'm guilty of what you're saying. Now I can pick my scene partner because I have people who I like to read with when I'm sending something in, right?
Sure.
But I think I too am guilty of that because I'm forgetting we're so separate now but we're not. We're supposed to be in the room, which is, acting and theater 101, what's in the room and how you're feeling and what is it? And I don't think I've been putting that layer on it or going as deep as I should and taking that moment ahead of time to really have it be not so flat,
Well,
So,
for whatever consolation it is, I also have not been taking that time. But it's a great challenge for us to remind ourselves of, and it's an exciting opportunity. There's an invitation there to do deeper acting, to do
it's great.
better
Great.
work. I also think, and this is just occurring to me now, part of this comes from, I think sometimes when we're approaching an audition as opposed to a performance,
Mhm.
we try to hang on to some sort of control. So we're trying to steer every moment instead of experiencing every moment and let the camera see you experience it. Letting go of that. It's what I call step on the raft, let it leave the dock and let it
Yeah.
go where it's going to go, and take the ride of the scene so that things can surprise you or occur to you, or and letting go of no, my performance, and going, what do you need, person on the other side of the scene? What do you need? What are you saying? It's sort of like just leaving the side of the pool and going and swimming in the scene.
Mhm.
So when it happens, it's such a wonderful and more fun experience, don't you think?
I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other thoughts on this? All right. I'm glad I brought this up today because it's a good reminder to me and to all of us that there's somebody else in that scene, and they've got needs, concerns, ideas, or things they're trying to communicate, or things that you're trying to communicate to them, and we want to make sure that even if we're just using our imaginations, that we are establishing that flow between characters. Yeah, good. And now it's time for Michael's Field Reports, True Tales from the Trenches. A cog in the machine. I often say that artistic fulfillment and lucrative work and prestige don't always come in the same package. Commercials, they pay you lots of money. You do a play for $0, it's the best experience of your life. I am blissfully on a project now that I love from all angles. It's lucrative, it's prestigious, it's sexy, and it's also really it's artsy. It's artistically fulfilling. I'm doing the Marvel series Spider Noir, and it's 1930s depression, film noir. It's so rare that these things come together, which is why I'm making sure that I treasure it, it is absolutely delightful. A little side tangent that is not the subject I was going to talk about, but I had to do something I've never done in my whole career, and it terrified me. I had lost my voice completely, and for the first time ever, I had to say, I can't shoot the scene that I'm scheduled to shoot this Thursday. And guys, I went through, they're going to fire me because of course I still have my little inner child. I'm, easily replaced after the meticulous casting that they did, and it was terrifying. I also was raised by production people, so I know that's like turning a ship around in the middle of the ocean. It's to switch a day of filming, to change a schedule, huge. And luckily I gave them enough notice, and they went to work, and it was a lot of phone calls and it was a lot of work, but they were able to switch Thursday for Monday, and I still felt like hell doing it, but sometimes you just gotta. There wasn't another option. And it was, in a weird backwards way, letting in a little more sense of my value to them, which was very, very, very good. I know that if it was a one-line co-star, they would have been like, well, great, we'll replace you, but that was pretty interesting. But I was filming the other day. I played the mayor of New York, and I was doing a campaign speech to a little group of background actors. And what really landed with me was the extent to which, even though the scene is all me, so little of it is on my shoulders. So little of it. So much of the final impact of that scene is done by costumes, music, editing, green screen, the background actors, the various angles. So little of it is on me. Hey there, Celeste, long time. It was very exciting to really get the extent to which I'm a cog in the machine, because my little speech was made much more interesting by the fact that they had a crane shot that started on my face and pulled out and pulled out and pulled out until you saw the crowd. I mean, that makes it more dramatic. That's not on my shoulders. I just do my little speech. You know, they cut to the crowd looking a little bit like unconvinced. That tells the story. You know, and often, I mean, there's so much that goes into this. Often, the impact of your scene is aided by scenes you're not in. The scene before, the scene after. I have often cited a scene I did for The Wire, where I was, a lawyer representing these drug dealers, and there's a scene where I'm in court with this guy that the audience knows is just a thug, telling the judge that this is a promising youth, and we're doing a pro bono case because he shows promise and he's a good kid. We just, trying to help the youth of our city, especially when they show an interest in being better. Well, I didn't have to do anything to make that a sleazy, disgusting lie, because we've been watching the series. We know this kid is no good. We know that I'm lying, and we know that it's bullshit because of something that happened that I, as the actor, didn't have to do. You see, I didn't have to do that work. There are all these little fascinating pieces of the puzzle. The green screen is particularly interesting because I don't know what the rest of the atmosphere around me I don't know what the street behind me looks like. And I think the reason I wanted to share this today is that I hope it lifts the load a little bit for you, because often, and our focus here is auditioning, often when we audition, we think, I've got to deliver the entire scene from my living room with no props or costumes or other actors or anything. You don't. You have to give a little taste of what your piece of the pie might be like. That's it. It's especially helpful if you're doing co-stars or parts that are not as dramatically significant, because you're like, okay, well, I don't have to do that. I don't have to do that. I just put my little cog in the machine, my little piece. And I think it landed particularly with me because this scene was just me giving a speech. And I thought, wow, that's just such a small percentage of what's making this interesting to watch. What do you think? Interesting perspective I gained that day. Does that make you feel maybe a little easier about what your task is? I hope. All right. I have a zero response, but that's what I got from the crowd when I was
No, absolutely. Yes. It gives a lot of perspective.
That's what I got from the crowd. David.
I'm just sitting here a little stunned, because I always take on as much responsibility as I possibly can. And as you were describing the green screen, I was thinking to myself, wait, I don't have to worry about what is going on behind me. I don't have to. Okay, that's new. I mean, I always am like, oh, the more information I have, and I learned this from a guy named Michael Kostroff, the more information I have and the more detective work I do and the more I see from other parts of what other pieces of the cast and crew do, the better off I'll be. And now you're laying this thing on me that lifts the burden a little bit, and I'm a little stunned.
Both things are true. Having as much information as possible, but also recognizing that doesn't mean you have to work harder. Doesn't mean that you have to muscle it up. And I think, though, David, as you know, in voiceover, you do have to carry all of this stuff without even the benefit of your face, it's a very different way of thinking. You do have to carry all of the storytelling in the voice, you know. On camera work in a strange sense is easy. I mean, they were doing one of these. It's very noir, as I said. There was a camera person on the ground with a tilted angle. I thought, oh, that's going to look fantastic. All I have to do is give my little speech, and it's going to look much more interesting because by virtue of that, you know. Yeah. So what have I conflicted myself? Have I contradicted myself?
Uh, our business is a cesspool of contradictions. So it's not, or what you said, two things can be true at the same time.
Yes. I think the curiosity that I've described is about all the things you can think about that are going on for your character. You know, all the things that the character might be thinking about, things that might be crossing his mind. Um, um, and I think exploring that from all different angles is great. And then at a certain point, but I think that feeling like it is up to you to convey, you know, the time period and the temperature and, you know, all the things, elements of the scene, and the dramatic impact it's taking on too much. It's doing somebody else's job as well. You know, we had
Wait, hold on, back up a second, just one step. I thought what you were describing was the things to consider, including the temperature and the smells and the sounds and all that as you're doing your stuff, but your conclusory words were like, you don't have to worry about that. That's somebody else's thing. And I'm trying to make sure I understand that because I was going to offer something today that I've been learning from listening to a series of Stephen King books and how he writes.
Mhm.
Um, he brings in things that you wouldn't think are really all that necessary, like what it smells like and what the temperature is and where the sun is based on the horizon and all these things that just basically help you connect with the scene and are those things that I'm forgetting to consider as I'm doing my, popcorn stuff. Like I put myself on, 45th in a cart, in a push cart, and tried to like create that scenario for myself. So I'm asking for some clarification.
And I think your request for clarification is justified. I can see why I might have been confusing. First of all, again, the written word is a non-collaborative art form, just as voiceover is a non-collaborative art form in terms of this one person doing all the work. So Stephen King's work, Victor Hugo takes you all the way around the room before you get to the people who are speaking. I think I'm after recognizing that we have helpers in the storytelling. My other self was also right that if I think about what the temperature is like and how that's affecting me, how that's affecting my character, and how the time period is going to affect my worldview. Yes, I will agree with my earlier self who said that. I think as many things as you can consider in terms of that will enhance your acting work. I think feeling like we have to convey all that and make sure all of that work is seen is overburdening ourselves. Like when people say, well, I want it to feel really dramatic. The character's not worrying about being dramatic. The character has their little world and their little goal. And so I think the things that are good tools for your internal work are always great to consider. And I always ask as many questions as I possibly can of myself. But I think when you see the final product on TV, recognizing that comes from a collaboration of different art forms and different craftspeople, for me, lifts the burden of feeling I have to convey it all and make sure it's all seen. That I'm the person who has to deliver the time period and the temperature and all of that. When all I have to do is I'm really only considering those things for how they will affect my worldview, my emotions, my thoughts, um, and uh, and I think for me, recognizing that I have help, like because I may not feel like the most interesting person in the world. I don't tend to think of myself as all that fascinating. So I part of what helps me be more fascinating is the fact that they put me in a top coat with a scarf around the neck, and I've got, a watch chain, and all those things help tell the story, and it's not all on me. I don't know if I've clarified this at all, but
No, something came up for me while you were talking, and that was the difference between endowment and display.
yeah, yes,
And very basic stuff where, yeah, it's freezing outside, but that's not what you're playing. That's just something you're endowing your environment with. I'm watching, the I forget what her name is all the time. Um, she was in White Lotus, and Jennifer Coolidge.
Mhm.
She's doing a commercial right now for some credit card that doubles everything. And
Yes.
she's in a coffee shop, and she gets her coffee and she holds it at an angle where it would spill throughout the entire commercial as she reads what's on the coffee cup. And I'm like, why am I so upset about this? It's like you hold a coffee cup, even if it's empty, as though it's got coffee in it. You endow it with volume and you endow it with weight, and you don't hold it as though it's an empty cup that's a prop from props. Anyway,
That would bother me too. That um ML, you have your hand up.
Yeah, so that coffee cup thing bothers me all the time when I'm on
That's bad,
set.
bad
It
thing.
it's like, okay, for the show Gilmore Girls, put some fucking liquid in that cup.
Or just hold it like a person.
I
Yeah.
mean,
same with suitcases.
they are like
Okay.
so obsessed with coffee on that show. Put something in the cup. Um, my audition just yesterday, I was given the script. I had the whole script. And so I mentioned to the casting director that I was so grateful to have the whole script because it allowed me to, like you say, not have to worry about carrying the thing. I knew my place in the story,
Yes.
and each scene that I had to do was different, but it was specific. I knew, and I may have done a little too much to show that it was freezing outside, but it was a choice that I made, and I utilized a scarf for all three scenes, the different ways that the scarf would be used on the day.
Mhm.
So, I was so grateful to have the whole script. And the casting director was like, yeah, I hate it when they don't let us share it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
But then we talked about why they don't let you share it. It's episodic, and it's going to be spoilery, or it's a Marvel, MCU universe. You can't have the whole script.
It took me a lot of work to get the scripts for the show that I'm on, and I'm in every episode, so it's kind of like
Yeah.
they finally agreed to it. Yes, David, I really like I like the challenge that you threw me back, because I want to make sure that I'm clear about this, and uh, I want to always investigate as much as I can as an actor. I think it's
Well,
more the sense of not feeling the burden of delivering the entire impact of the scene on my own.
I also was thinking about the green screen thing going, oh, but what if I have to match a movement? It's like, no, no, they have to match you. It's like people get the impression, and for the most part, this is true, that that you do the voice work and then they animate around you in an animation show. But sometimes anime, you're voicing against something that's already been animated.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just feel like, sometimes you have to let the other people's jobs be their jobs, not your jobs. So.
Well, I'm particularly aware of it on this job because the artisans are so wonderful on this Spider-Man show. this prop woman is such a nerd. She's like, oh, she loves finding the right prop. She gets so excited. The costumer is just a nerd for the period and the color schemes and everything. And so watching these people do something that they're so passionate about and recognizing that we're all rowing together, Yes, John Fiore.
Michael, I'm curious, since you were the whole scene, and like you were describing it. Did you get, once you did your first take, whatever, did you get direction from that? Bigger, smaller, try this, try that? I'm just curious.
Funny you should mention that. So, I always like to talk to background because very often there's this weird kind of distance where the background is afraid to talk to the principals. I wandered into the crowd. I introduced myself. I talked to them, and we were joking around. So the director came over and he was very excited. He said, it's perfect. I nothing. And he walked away, and I said, now I'm thinking that means it's beyond help. That's I'm taking that note to mean I can't help this guy. It's a disaster. And they all laughed because that's where our brains go. But no, he seemed very, 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 very satisfied, which was, again, interesting because it's easy to not take the notes in the worst possible way, even thumbs up. Bob.
Yeah, it's interesting you raised that, because I also do lots of analysis before I start, before I even start memorizing a scene. But I attend a weekly workshop, and one of the things that the guy who runs the workshop emphasizes is, do a simple read, no acting, flat read of the script to find out how much work the script is doing for you that you don't need to do with the lines. Brilliant. And so you're actually extending that a step further, which is look at the entire environment you're in and see how much work it's doing for you, so that you have less of a burden as you go along. So it was interesting to hear your description of that.
I mean, if you're doing a Western and your scene is walking into the saloon, before they even see it, they're going to show you tumbleweeds, and you're going to hear a harmonica, and you're going to, and it's like the other artisans are helping that to create that environment, So, yeah, not to overwork this. It was something that I'm willing to. Oh, yes, yes. I do that because I'm an extrovert. That's 100% right, ML. And also because I used to do background work. I'm like, screw this. I don't. Also, I wanted scene partners, and now I'm giving a speech to them, and I didn't want them to feel shy, and so we they were my scene partners. We had a good time, and yeah, it was good. All right, let's see. I've got. Casting Pearls. Who would like to do a reading for us of Casting Pearls? I'm going to ask Laura Flores because I've missed her so much. Would you read this for us?
In the privacy of our homes, we're weird and sexual and complex and messy and obnoxious and loud and freaky. But when it comes to auditioning, we pull it all together and we put it on a perfect face. Stop doing that. It results in zero possibility, no life force, and no access to anything you want. Instead, let it all hang out. When you do, a casting director or producer sees your spark of your unique humanity and gains insight into how to further open the actor up. But if you remain a closed system, you've lost access to anything that's remotely interesting. Anthony Meindl, am I saying that correct?
I think it's Mendel. I'm not sure.
Writer, director, producer.
Should know, but I don't. I just love this. I am a fan of the messy, the messiness, being willing to just, again, live through your audition work, not plan it all out so it's all neat and tucked down at the corners. Be open to surprises that things you didn't expect to feel while you were and again, as we get further and further away from trying to figure out what they want and crack that code, and since you're not going to get the fucking job, doing what is the most you and the most just your good messy weird freaky self. I want to know, have any of you had experiences that sort of reflect this quote where you felt like you're like, fuck it, that's how I want to do it, that's what feels right to me. It let yourself, you let your freak flag fly, as they say.
I love that I have aged into messy,
Yep.
because if I don't have to put on makeup, I ain't putting on makeup.
I mean, and I think when I say messy, I also mean like, characters are messy. Characters don't always know what they're thinking or why. Characters don't always know why they said what they said. Characters forget their train of thought. And, one of my favorite things on Poker Face is that the character has a tendency to not be able to come up with the word she's trying to think of. And I love that. It's just a fun little quirk, but that's very real. That's what I mean by messy. I mean, not feeling that you have to. I used to attend every meeting in a suit and tie, like to meet agents. And they're like, why are you so dressed up? It was like trying to make everything all neat. Instead, they wanted to see who the hell I was.
Yeah, no, I know. I understand that. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, above a certain age, you have more freedom to be
Yep.
that kind of messy,
Yes.
that not perfectly suited.
Yes.
If I'm up for a role where I need to be suited, well, then I'm going to be suited, and I'm going to make sure that my hair is smooth and make sure that my face has, color on my lips and those kinds of things. But in general, the things that I'm getting asked to audition for are the neighbor, the, just someone who doesn't need to be anything but whoever the fuck she is.
Right. Laura.
I don't know if it was Bob or Chris. They were talking about their audition on camera, and this is how I thought I was going to react or do that. I think I'm guilty of that too, because I've read it and this is how it should be. And when you get in that room or you start reading that person, you do have to let that go, because I don't know what I'm going to get from that person. And then being messy, we were doing some things in theater the other day, and it was like his line finishes, and people started cutting people off, not because it was written in the script to cut off, just they jumped someone's line. And you know what? People do that. And I'm like, that's fine, because we do talk over each other.
Yes.
And again, just don't put it in this little package with a bow, because it's so much more interesting when you don't, at least for me. And I'm only speaking for me. So
Yeah. John.
Hello. Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, we're human. Show us you're ugly. We're not perfect.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Simple.
I think I want to look at this one more time. Bob Jaffe.
Yeah, it's interesting what you just said, Laura, because I have a playwright friend who scores his plays so that all the dialogue, he says there's the you speak, I speak dialogue, and then there's the way normal rooms work where people overlap each other. So he writes, and he's developing a whole methodology of writing and a score. And I did a demonstration of about, it was about 15 or 20 minutes of one of his scripts, and it was amazing to kind of enter into that. It was also really difficult. We were reading off a script, but still, it was really difficult to get the timing right. But it sounded so, it was both messy and real at the same time. So it was quite an experience.
I want to read this. Yes, Celeste.
Yeah, I just wanted to say for me, those are the most fun roles. When you just get to be be yourself, or be the character that's sloppy or messy. Because I had one not too long ago where I was a motel clerk, and they were just, messy and no makeup, no nothing. Just, yeah, I love that. I think I like quirky anyway.
Yeah. Now I want to clarify because some of you are talking about being physically messy, which I'm all there. I'm all there with you. I think it's fantastic. Love that. What I'm talking about when I say messy is we don't always speak in a complete sentence that it comes to an end, or we don't we or sometimes we make a weird face in the middle of talking, or sometimes I just freeze because I can't think of what I'm going to say, or I'm weird. I'm weird and depressed, and just letting all of the freakishness and weirdness. I want to read this quote again because I want to. He says it so much better than I do. Laura, can you read that for us again?
Repeating that.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it again.
Okay. Yep. In the privacy of our homes, we're weird and sexual and complex and messy and obnoxious and loud and freaky. But when it comes to auditioning, we pull it all together and we put it on a perfect face. Stop doing that. It results in zero possibility, no life force, and no access to anything you want. Instead, let it all hang out. When you do, a casting director or producer sees a spark of your unique humanity and gains insight into how to further open the actor up. But if you remain a closed system, you've lost access to anything that's remotely interesting.
Yeah.
Anthony Mendel, writer, director, producer.
Yeah, I think, yeah, tell me more about what you think he means, friends. And I think the physical messiness makes absolutely fits in with this. I just wanted to make sure we're being clear. Yeah.
I think we take the work and we do all the homework, right? What's the reaction, what we're thinking. But then when we make those choices, I think we lock ourselves into it that this is the way this actor, that who's now me, should be performing this. Versus, I say it to people all the time, I hate actors who act. I like actors who be.
Yep.
Just be. And I think younger people, when you're, mentoring someone, they don't understand that, or the play, I'm sorry, who's skipping me right now, the gentleman who wrote Steel Magnolias, and the inside of the book, he states, although these women are wonderfully colorful or whatever, they're not characters. They're really who they are, kind of, right? So, just be loose. Don't, like I said, and maybe we put it all on ourselves too, because, oh my God, first of all, you got something to audition for. Hello, right? And I think it's the same thing when we look at the piece. Who said first that she allows it to be a mistake 3 times before she sends it in?
Yeah.
Because we're like, that it's not perfect enough. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again. And if we make it too perfect, I'm guessing it's got to be the stiffest thing ever coming out that you're sending in, right?
I think sometimes we attempt, first of all, we make it a test. I mean, the idea of getting it right is such a killer. It's just such a joy killer, such a creativity killer. I want to get it right, like like I'm going to pass the test. But I think we often think the goal is to craft characters who know exactly what they feel and speak very clearly in complete sentences and have no complications about them, and I think we want to let those complications bloom. Yes, Giselle.
Yeah, I just wanted to agree with Laura. I think we do try and control it. Sometimes when I've just gone free and been too big and this and that, unfortunately, that famous agent of mine comes back and says, "You're doing this for a small stage, or you're doing this for the screen, and you're too big." And I said, "But that's where I'm going with this."
Yeah.
And I understand with you, and it's actually made me stop doing what I feel instinctively right, and it's so much easier to do on stage because you can just go there and become it. And yeah, you're an actor, you walk off stage and you shouldn't hold it. Sometimes you do. And I sometimes have to go there. I sometimes have to go big. I have to go nasty. I have to go mad.
Yes.
And it may not be appropriate for that little camera for the self-tape. But sometimes it just feels better.
Well,
and
you're reminding me of, and I've forgotten the name of the film. Maybe somebody can help me. John Malkovich is in it. Yeah, it would help if I could think of the other names of people that are. It's a weird, quirky. Who's the guy who was in the one about drumming? Okay.
Oh, I know.
Miles Teller or J.K. Simmons?
J.K. Simmons
J.K.
or Miles
Simmons.
Teller?
Yes. And what's the name of the film? Does anybody remember? It's J.K. Simmons. It's a
And
bunch of
John Malkovich?
yeah. Anyway, there's a scene where John Malkovich is getting fired, and his reaction is so over the top. And he stands up and he makes a crucifix, and he just like it's like it's messy as fuck. It's just completely uniquely this character not taking it well, and it's not like any logical performance you'd ever see. It's just magnificent. It's just magnificent. And if I could think of the name of the film, I would. Maybe somebody could Google. And I don't remember who else is in it, but it's an odd. Oh, Burn After Reading. Is that what it's called? Yeah, Burn After Reading. There's a lot of really great, quirky, weird behavior in that. David.
Yeah, so I took a few workshops with Anthony, and you were right the first time. It's Anthony Meindl.
Meindl. Okay.
And it's part of a larger concept that he teaches, which is so valuable, and that is the beauty of humanity and imperfection. We so undervalue the gorgeous imperfections that make us arresting and that people want to pay so much attention to because we don't recognize them as draws, we recognize them as flaws. And I sometimes have to ask people to give themselves the permission to be more themselves than the perfect version of the character that they're trying to create, and myself as well. And so, this is just a lovely reminder. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited by this quote. I'm excited to apply it to my work, and to give myself a little bit more access to what's weird about me and what's human and eccentric and quirky and yeah. Cindy.
Hello. Happy Halloween and Dia de los Muertos. But I guess the less fucks I've learned to give, the happier I am, and just all around, it just feels freer, and that translates to your acting too. I put it in the chat too, but
Burn After
yeah.
Reading, Coen Brothers. That's right. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give less fucks
Less
in
fucks.
your personal self, in your acting self, in everything.
Link
And
gives-
do what the cat does.
Yeah, Link gives no fucks. He gives no fucks whatsoever. Oh, I love that. I love that. I'm so glad I stumbled on that quote because it's it's one that I want to sort of roll around in my brain again and again and again. Yeah. Arresting. Yep. Arresting's a good word. I'm trying to think of performances that you're kind of like, wow, it's choices I never would have made. It just so specific to this person, or they didn't seem to be trying to be too polished. Anybody have thoughts on examples? I should find. I mean, maybe I should find that.
I meant to write it down when we talked the next time. I cannot remember it. She's a pretty good famous actress. I can't remember the movie or the scene, but I remember she was coming in to speak to a cop because I think she was a kleptomaniac or something, and she just was very entitled or whatever. And the way she just sat in the scene, just her physical, she kind of put her knee up and she was kind of like this talking to him or whatever. And although I knew it was the choice that she did it just made me go, oh, this chick is going to be laid back. She's going to think nothing of what she's doing. And she didn't care because her mom and dad always bailed her out all the time. And I just thought, oh my God, that little choice made me want to go, oh, I'm going to see what she has to say to this detective. So it's little things like that I'm like, oh, geez.
I found the John Malkovich scene that I was talking about. I want to share it with you all. This usually goes better if you all turn off your cameras and mics for a minute, and then we'll rejoin afterwards. Just if it doesn't come up, let me know.
Ozzy, come on in.
Palmer, what's up?
You know Peck and Olson?
Peck, yes. Hiya. Olson by reputation. I'm Osborne Cox.
Yeah.
Aren't you with... Isn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Have a seat. Look, Oz, look, there's no easy way to say this. We're taking you off the Balkans desk.
What? Why?
In fact, we're moving you out of SIGINT entirely.
Just no discussion? Just you're out?
Well, we're having the discussion now. Look, Oz, this doesn't have to be unpleasant.
Palmer, with all due respect, what the fuck are you talking about? And why is Olson here?
Ozzy, look.
What the fuck is this? I know it's not my word.
Ozzy.
I'm a great fucking analyst.
Ozzy.
Is it
things have not been going well, as you know.
You have a drinking problem.
I have a drinking problem?
This doesn't have to be unpleasant. We found something for you in state. It's a, well, it is a lower clearance level, yes, but it's not. Look, we're not terminating you.
This is an assault. I have a drinking problem? Fuck you, Peck. You're a Mormon.
Ozzy.
Next to you, we all have a drinking problem. What the fuck is this? Whose ass didn't I kiss? Huh? Let's be honest.
Okay.
I mean, let us be fucking honest. This is a crucifixion. This is political. And don't tell me it's not. I have a drinking problem.
I don't know, just that was fun to watch. Come on back, everybody. I don't, maybe it wasn't an example of what I was talking about, but it felt so, well, it did. It felt so quirky and so uniquely Malkovich, you know. Bob, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just going to say, one of the reasons I like watching the show Somebody Somewhere is that everybody there is just living in that world, and it's just so simple. The writing is simple, the acting is simple. There's nobody trying to make too much of it, and they're all quirky in their own way, but it's just who they are.
It's a great show. Yeah. I need to catch up on it. All right, friends. I've good thoughts and good conversations this month. I always find this very stimulating and it benefits me as well. So thank you for your thoughts and your participation. I really this last thing is something I'm going to take away, and it's going to resonate with me quite a lot. It's good. It's good thoughts. All right, last call, David.
Yeah, I just wanted to share with you, and I'm putting it in the chat as we speak. If you want to see something that will make you cry and wish you were better at what you did for a living, go watch the new documentary on Disney Plus called Music by John Williams. It is stunning. And I sat there and I was simultaneously in awe and jealous and tearful and just proud of our business and joyful for him. And it is great. It is just great. And you will relive most of your life through all of the music that they've licensed for this hour and 20-minute or hour and a half hour 90-minute thing. It's just great. It's just great. A guy at the top of his game for almost all of his life.
I cannot wait. In fact, I may turn it on right after this because
it's so good. So good.
Celeste.
Well, I just wanted to say, I was just thinking about one of the performances that I really, really loved was Billy Bob Thornton in Fargo. I just loved his work there. It was amazing. And
It's a
He's very unhinged at times.
master class. It's a master class. And then you think about people like Christopher Walken. Nobody talks like him. He just does. Talk about messy, quirky, yeah, it's a gorgeous thing. All right, friends, I'm going to call it a wrap for this month, and I'll look forward to seeing you same time, same place next month. All right, all.
See y'all. Nice to be with you.
Bye, all.